Have you ever found yourself feeling overwhelmed, angry, or anxious, and it was really disproportionate to the situation? If you said yes, you're likely dealing with an emotional trigger. Hi, beautiful souls. I'm Ava Work. I'm an energy healer and coach, and welcome to my channel, where I help you heal from your past, get unstuck, and live as your highest self. On today's video, I'm talking all about emotional triggers, what they are, why they happen, some common signs you're emotionally triggered, their impact on your relationships and work, and why they're actually the biggest opportunity for healing and growth. And if you want to learn how me and my clients went from intensely triggered to overcoming our triggers for good so that they don't control us anymore, stay with me because I'm going to share a groundbreaking approach that has been a complete game changer for overcoming and healing our emotional triggers. All right, let's start by understanding what is an emotional trigger and why does it happen? Well, emotional triggers are these situations, people, or memories that create an intense emotional reaction within us. And this reaction is often disproportionate to the trigger itself because it's rooted in past traumatic experiences or memories. And we respond disproportionately because these triggers are linked to our brain's response to perceived threats. The amygdala, which is a small almond-shaped structure in the brain, is crucial for processing emotions, and it's involved in the detection of threats and the fight or flight response. And emotional triggers hijack the amygdala, causing us to have these intense emotional reactions that feel like we're just out of control. So now that we know what emotional triggers are and why they happen, what are some common signs that you're emotionally triggered? Well, physical symptoms can look like increased heartbeat, sweating, tension, or maybe even shaking. Emotional reactions can look like anger or irritability, sadness, or feelings of overwhelm or panic. Cognitive signs can look like difficulty concentrating because your mind is just flooded with thoughts related to the trigger, making it really hard to actually focus on anything else. And catastrophizing, where you might find yourself thinking in extremes and unable to see solutions in a challenging situation. It can also look like behavioral signs like withdrawal from others, aggressive behaviors like snapping at people or being confrontational, and avoidance behaviors where you may start avoiding certain places or people or activities that you associate with the trigger. And some common situations that can actually be triggering for people include public speaking, where a fear of judgment or humiliation can trigger anxiety. Performance reviews, where the fear of criticism can trigger feelings of stress and anxiety. Deadlines or high pressure situations, which can also trigger feelings of stress and anxiety. Arguments or disagreements, which can trigger feelings of anger or sadness. And criticism or negative feedback, which can trigger feelings of unworthiness or inadequacy. These are just a few examples of triggering situations for people that you may recognize in yourself. But there is actually many more triggering situations, and they're personal to you and your past experiences. I believe that being aware of your emotional triggers is really the first step to healing and overcoming them. It's actually something to be grateful about because it's a sign that there are these unresolved wounds inside you that are coming up to be healed. And I think of triggers as this gateway for our healing and transformation from the unresolved past. Every time you become triggered, I want you to think about what preceded that reaction. Was it something someone said or did? Was it a certain place or situation? And keep a mental note of these triggers so that you're aware of them. When you become more aware of when you get emotionally reactive, you'll start to notice patterns around what triggers you. And this is just a really good self-reflection exercise. And if you want a free workbook to help you discover your triggers, I have a workbook which you can download, which I've included the link in the description below. So if you've watched this far, you might be thinking, I know my triggers, or I'll work on discovering my triggers. But how do I actually cope or deal with them when they happen? What should I do to not get emotionally consumed by them or overreact in the moment? And here's something that may sound different than what you've heard on this topic before, which is that I don't believe we have to cope with our triggers. Instead, we can overcome and heal them quickly and for good by finding and releasing the root cause of the trigger. And yes, stay with me because it's totally possible since I've done this for myself and for my clients. In fact, Having successfully healed a lot of my triggers is a big reason that I can now regulate my emotions. And as someone with a history of complex PTSD, I was constantly triggered and living in an emotionally dysregulated state for most of my life. Almost everything felt like a threat to my nervous system and would easily send me into fight or flight mode. In fact, I'm doing this kind of healing work and sharing this information with you because my entire life changed when I started working on healing the root cause of my triggers. And the key to uncovering the root cause of your triggers is through the subconscious mind. Why? Because the subconscious mind is like a search engine that stores all your past experiences and memories. And because the subconscious mind is like a search engine, you can ask it to help you identify the energetic imbalances or blocks that are at the root of your triggers. Using a proven energy-based healing technique known as the emotion code, body code, and belief code, you can tap into the subconscious mind through a process known as muscle testing to identify and release the specific energetic imbalances, including unresolved emotions, negative thought patterns, and limiting beliefs that are at the root of your triggers. And this is because your subconscious mind is where your hidden blocks reside, and it also holds the key to identify and transform these blocks. And since everything in the universe is made up of energy, including our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs, they can be released energetically, which is at the deepest level when working on your triggers. And if the trigger is not addressed at the root, the issue remains unresolved and continues to create stress on the body each time it's reactivated. I'm going to take you through an example of a client whose trigger was fear of rejection and what kind of subconscious energetic blocks were found at the root of this trigger. By tapping into her subconscious mind, I was able to identify that the root of this fear originated at age 5. And there were several trapped emotions like worthlessness, lack of control, panic, shame, low self-esteem, helplessness, overwhelm, as well as negative thoughts like, I will be attacked, and beliefs like there's always something wrong with me, and I need to constantly prove myself, which we identified around this time period in her life. And I'm not going to name every single imbalance that I found around this issue for her, but you get the point, which is that these are energies stored in the subconscious mind that originated from an event, in this case around age 5, and likely compounded over time, and were at the root of her fear of rejection trigger. And she used to keep being triggered in situations where she subconsciously perceived that there was this threat of being rejected, like at work and in relationships. On a previous video I did on how to find and release stuck emotions, I talk more about tapping into the subconscious mind with muscle testing to identify and release stuck emotions that are connected to an issue being worked on. If you want to check it out, I've added the link in the description below. As a certified emotion, body, and belief code practitioner, this is not an energy healing technique that I can train others to do for themselves, but rather I'm here to share the potential of this energy healing method and how it can help you overcome and heal your triggers for good and improve your health and your relationships. But the good news is that releasing your stuck emotions is something that you can actually learn to do yourself with just the emotion code book. And I've added that link in the description below. Using this method, you can learn to quickly identify and release stuck emotions yourself that are at the root of your triggers, which will help lessen the intensity of the triggers. The caveat is that in my experience, there are usually other blocks like negative thoughts and limiting beliefs that are more deeply rooted with our triggers, which does require you to work with a trained practitioner like myself, or become trained in this healing modality yourself so that you can work to energetically release these deeper layers of subconscious blocks on your own. I want you to know that you don't need to manage or cope with your triggers and that they don't need to control your life and impact your overall well-being anymore. By addressing the root cause energetic blocks, you can achieve emotional freedom from your triggers. So thank you for watching this video. And if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up, leave a comment below, and subscribe to my channel for even more content like this. And hit the bell notification so that you won't miss any new videos to help you heal, get unstuck, and live as your highest self.